Right. This is a session that's exciting me for a while to bring together some of our point of sale technology partners and get their opinions on what they see going on in the marketplace. So joining me today is Tim Gallo, Vice President of Americas Retail at Epicor, John Maiuri, President of LBMH Division of ECI Solutions, and Mike Williamson, CEO of Paladin Data Corporation. So I want to give you guys some context. When you put these three companies together, over 2/3, or about 70% of our dealers are running one of their systems. So we really appreciate your partnership and with Orgill and with all of our dealers, so thank you. So let's get into it. Like the last panel, I have a ton of questions for these guys, but I will leave some time at the end for some audience Q&A. But be nice. That's my main ask. So, all right, so panelists, please introduce yourselves, but answer this question. What do you think is the biggest challenge that technology could help address in the store? Tim, I'll start with you.
My name is Tim Gallo, and I lead the retail business for Epicor here in the Americas. I've been with the organization for 16 years. I spent 13 in retail. I took a little hiatus in the middle and ran a project that spanned all of our different vertical markets. So I came back to retail in 17, and I couldn't be happier. But to answer your question, I really think the biggest impact that technology is going to have on our business is really around productivity. Regardless of what the technology is, if that technology doesn't help the dealer become more efficient and be more productive, it's just a cool technology. And it doesn't have the return that I think the dealers are looking for. So, you know, when I talk to dealers, they talk about the art and the science of running a business. I think the dealers are challenged at times to trust the system that we provide to do the science. When they have the art, the history, the gravitas to actually operate the business and to use what that system can provide.
So productivity is what you're saying.
I think it's productivity.
Yeah. Jim, what's your thoughts? What do you think is the best thing that technology can do?
John Maiuri. I'm the president of ECI's Building Construction Division focused on lumber, building material, and hardlines, hardware stores. I've been in the industry for quite a long time, first 25 years or so in retail on the dealer side of the business, transitioned over about 15 years ago to the technology side. In my opinion, you know, technology is a tool. And a tool in the hands of a craftsman produces a result that is different from perhaps a layman that doesn't leverage it the way it's intended. The core attribute that I think that technology, especially in this sector, can administrate is helping manage inventory. If you can master managing your inventory and replenishment, keeping your data sets correct and up to date, then the transition to digital becomes much, much easier. I think that's the place to focus first.
Yeah. Mike, introduce yourself, and then what do you think is the biggest challenge technology can solve in the store?
Yeah, my name's Mike Williamson. I'm the CEO of Paladin Data Corporation. We were founded in the Pacific Northwest in 1980 and been serving the lumber, building materials, and retail hardware nationwide since then. Well, I look at that question, I kind of oversimplified it. We run into stores all day that don't even have any technology, and I think the biggest challenge we've seen over the last year has just been simply price management, which ties in with inventory and productivity. So am I selling for the right price? Am I protecting my margin? Am I not giving away profit on a sale to a contractor? Is this quote still current pricing wise? Just as having a point of sale, having technology can allow a store owner all the way down to an individual owner to stay profitable and protect revenue.
Gotcha. So When you're thinking about addressing a problem that our dealers have, you guys get all kinds of stuff, I'm sure, that comes up from your help desk or comes in for the requests or issues or questions. How do you take those requests or problems and address them? How do you start? How would you start with that? And John, I would ask you that first.
Well, we have, like most of the companies out there that do this type of work, we have advisory panels, and we have customer focus groups, and we have internal business analysts that take a look at the requests and the things that come in from our customers and try to make sure that we identify exactly what the issue is. It's often expressed in a generic sense sometimes. Sometimes the answers actually already exist in the platform and they just haven't been discovered by that particular customer. And then when we go through the process of solutioning, we bring in our beta groups and some of those focus group people to take a look and make sure we're on the right path until ultimately we run it through the development cycle and go through testing and make sure that we've got it right, and then go through a release strategy that allows us to take feedback from the customer.
Gotcha. Well, Mike, how do you address when a dealer has something that they think is a problem? How do you guys address that?
We're a little more focused, per customer of ours. The first thing we do is we answer the phone, we reply to the emails, we answer and monitor our chats and our online, and then we open that communication up and we keep it open. So we're organized in teams. The first person who gets a case, as we call it, when a request comes in, it's their job to get it solved, and they have a time limit. And if they can't hit it in that time limit, they have to bubble it up to their team lead. And he has a shorter time limit, and it goes on up the chain like that till we figure out what the root cause is and get the solution out. So as you said, sometimes it's training, sometimes it's unknown that there's a feature there. Possibly could even be a bug of some kind. If it is a technology issue on our side, we fix it, and we have the ability to push that out individually to store as needed, so in real time, so as soon as it's fixed.
So Tim, what do you think when you're addressing a problem dealers have? How do you attack those problems?
Look, I think for me, I go back to just listening and trying to understand what they're really solving for. Not unlike some of the dealers' customers come into the store and ask for something and maybe don't use the right words, that somebody would know how to fix a plumbing problem with. They need the whatchamacallit. And what the stores are so good at is continually asking those questions to find out what they're really trying to accomplish. I know on our side, one of the things that we have been spending a lot of time on is making sure that we are understanding what the question is and making sure we understand the words and the way they're being used. Because unfortunately, a lot of us, we get caught up in the technology side of things, and we think we know how we're using the word. That may not necessarily be the way that you're hearing it. And then we go on divergent paths. So for us, I think it is listening and just really trying to understand.
Gotcha. Communication at the end of the day, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a joke in retail that the last day you were happy with your point of sale system was the day you first signed up. So how do your companies fight that sentiment? Mike, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, it's a joke I'm familiar with in boats and exotic cars, having been through a few. But for us, that wouldn't work. I mean, our pricing model wouldn't support that. So just like with our customer service, our implementation is done on a team basis. You just have one more team member brought in the beginning, which would be a project manager. So No one likes change. Everybody learns at a different rate and a different style, and we've learned to adapt to that. You know, let's get a plan and set expectations and decide what would be the best moving forward, and then stay in support with them. So they may have forgot what they learned first day, and they need help with that. So it's the same process as our customer service.
Well, Tim, how do you address that sentiment?
I've never heard it before.
Oh, really? I was going to say, I've heard that joke for a while.
So, and I'll relate this back to some internal projects that we have going on at Epicor. We have this concept of a victim. And a victim is typically that person that gets assigned to run the project after somebody in leadership has made a decision. That person may not necessarily understand why the decision was made and what the business is trying to accomplish. So they become very task-oriented, and they essentially install the new technology to look just like the other one, just a little faster. So one of the things that we've been spending a fair amount of time on with our sellers specifically is to make sure that the dealer principal who makes the decision stays involved with the project. Because as Mike said, change management is the biggest part of putting in any of our systems. That's the hardest part, is the change management, and that really needs to come from the leadership of the organization.
Gotcha. Mike or John, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that, you know, our experience is quite similar. Are all of our customers happy all of the time? Certainly not. You know, we enjoy one of the longest tenures with our customer relationships, and at least within our pretty broad software offering within ECI. You know, the core attribute that I see with customers are that that start out with us. Somebody that might have bought a system a year ago or 2 years ago, it's a great deal of work to change your company, to go through that transition and adapt to something new, especially for many that those systems were born generations back inside the company. And so they get just so comfortable and they stop. They just kind of pull the plug and they try to do business, and they stop experimenting, they stop leaning in, and then the business changes and their expectations change and they haven't kept up and they struggle. And so we get a fair amount of people coming back looking for on-site visits and coaching and consulting. And that was really exacerbated over the last few years with turnover in many, many operations. It's been material. Just lots of new faces, people that have never been in this industry before.
So training and engagement.
Training and staying engaged is key to success, regardless of the platform you're on.
Okay. Well, Bill Gates once said, most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think is the change we're going to see in the next 10 years? So Tim, I'll start with you. What do you think is the change in the next 10 years?
Well, I hope I can play to my handicap. I think, and we're starting to see it now, it's the generational change in the business. I think as the generations change and roll over, there is a greater acceptance to trying new things and looking at different pieces of technology. But I also think the other big change that we're going to see is in public money, private equity money coming into the marketplace, consolidating businesses. And that consolidation will increase the rate of technology because they'll have to become more efficient and more productive to make their investment pay off. So I think it's really going to be outside influences that impact technology over the next 10 years.
Okay. Mike, what's your thoughts? What's going to happen in 10 years? I know it's one of those random questions, but just from your perspective, what's the
Well, we're in the middle of a cultural shift, a transformation to digital. It's hard to see that we're in the middle of it right now. I think it'll be completed and done in 10 years. Things are really changing and moving rapidly. I think I want to like to compare it to the telephone. You know, you now call a person, you don't call a place. I mean, we switched totally over to mobile phones. It was rough, but we got through that. Businesses in the future, one of their assets is going to have to be IT in order to be relevant in today's culture.
Yeah, we've said a lot at these symposiums that, you know, really, we're all miniature technology companies in a way now, whether we like it or not. You know, I don't know, John, if you have any thoughts on the next 10 years, what's?
Yeah, I certainly appreciate the other two perspectives. I think that e-commerce is here to stay. I think e-commerce is going to be different for many of us, depending upon your business, the breadth and type of business you're in, whether you're just hardware or whether you're trying to trade in a 10 or 30 mile radius or send, you know, toasters from New York to California. Your business will have to be digitally oriented in some fashion. That's going to drive a more personalized customer engagement. You know, my wife thinks that I'm an addict for Amazon, but it is the convenience of being able to work 80 hours a week and still procure the things that I want to be able to fool around with in my shop on a weekend. You know, I don't have time to shop. I don't have time to run all over and be disappointed because I can't get it. So if I can't order it online from one of my customers, I'll go to Amazon and place that order. And I think that that's going to be critical to people's success ahead. Where in your particular market that comes to be is dependent upon each business and where and how you feel the pressure of change.
Interesting. And I would like to push in a little bit on the e-commerce comment there. You know, my background is e-commerce, so I have to ask you guys this. What do you think about the differences between systems? I mean, we're running point of sale to run the business at brick and mortar, and then so often there's a different system for e-com. Like, what do you guys think about that? Are these things going to become combined at some point, or are we going to keep running these different systems? And what's your thoughts on that? I really would like to just continue with your thoughts, if you don't mind, John.
Well, you know, the popular buzzword over the last 10 years has been omni-channel, and you know, everybody trying to get there. And you know, there's a sort of an unfortunate nature to this particular industry that so many of us have multiple relationships and vendor relationships and sources for product and people that we do business with and different software platforms. And you know, for a company like Orgill, I'm sure that that's a veritable nightmare to do business with all these different systems that are out there. And so that, you know, the nature of this is that the cost of e-commerce will likely come down. The ability to integrate it will fall to some of the larger providers in this industry that can afford to spend money and make the investments that create that seamless engagement for the customer. That's what it's all about. The customer experience has to be the same, as good as you can provide in the store via your online presence. If you can achieve that, you've accomplished a great deal, and I think it gives you the capacity to compete against the big boxes and people like Amazon.
Mike, what's your thoughts on that? The segmentation of systems we have out there, are we going to consolidate?
Yeah, well, that is
at some
the
point?
problem. So, you know, two systems with the same goal that totally achieved it on a different pathway that can't talk to each other whatsoever. That's changing. The tools and developer boxes have the missing piece, the communication between platforms has, we're now able to write a single code and deploy it across multiple platforms. It's pretty exciting what I've seen in development, and that's really going to fix a lot of the problems, and it's going to bring the price down to affordable. I think in like I said, in 10 years, this will be done. You make a change in your point of sale, and it'll be the same change in your e-commerce and your mobile platform. Right now, as a development company, if we fix something or write something new into point of sale, then we have to go on a different technology and write it into e-com, and then hopefully it did work correctly. And then if we want it on mobile, it had to go and be written on a mobile platform, and those are very stable at all, so they ultimately needed updating. So now we'll be able to apply the code that we do was our specialty, and it'll work on all platforms.
So you think they are going to consolidate?
Yeah, that was the missing piece in this problem, and it had to be solved, or we couldn't move to a digital platform.
Yeah. Tim, what's your thoughts on?
I do think that the systems will converge, but I really believe the focus will end up being on the core data and the underlying data, and making sure that there's proper data governance, so that the way that the data is exposed, whether it is through a mobile device or point of sale or e-com, it gets routed to the right spot in the right format. I think, again, in my opinion, e-commerce is going to start getting segmented based on the market that you're looking to serve. The way that my kids shop, being in their late 20s, early 30s, is much different than the way that I shop and the way that I look for information. And I think in order to be able to compete, we're going to have multiple segments that are going to be served from a single database.
Interesting. So you also think?
It's going to converge.
Yeah, okay. So what is the most exciting development you see coming for our industry? We have lots going on. When I say our industry, I'm not really talking technology, but technology could be one of them. But, because we have consolidation, because you guys mentioned the huge amount of PE coming in, and it's a lot of consolidation going on. So what do you think is going to happen? Robots, efficiencies in the store, technology, what do you think? Tim, I'll start with you.
I think, as I mentioned before, I think private equity in the consolidation in certain geographies or in certain segments is going to have the biggest impact. And then things will drive from there. But, and I think we're already starting to see it.
Okay. So I said most exciting. Is that exciting, or is that just uncertain?
I do, because I think it's exciting because it's challenging the market.
Okay.
And the one thing that I have seen in my time in this space is that this dealer body does not back down from a challenge.
Okay.
And I think it's just going to be another way to compete.
Okay.
And it provides the people in this room an opportunity to expand their business, to grow it, to do different things. It's just whether, how you want to do that. Do you want to compete? Do you want to be part of something bigger? I think that the evolution is going to be really interesting.
Okay. Mike, what's your thoughts? Consolidation exciting, or what else? What else is exciting that could be happening?
Well, the robots are kind of cool.
What'd you say?
Yeah, robots are kind of cool.
Robots?
It'd be nice to have one that polished the floors and picked up the loose nuts and bolts. But seriously, what's most exciting for us, again, is seeing the suppliers embracing this digital revolution. So it can't be done without their support. They're going to lead the way and make this happen. And it's just going to speed it all up. So for our company, that's been what we're really happy about.
Yeah. John, what's your thoughts? What's the most exciting thing that's going to happen in our industry?
Well, when you shared the questions for today with me, I thought about robots because it jumped right off the page at me. And I reflected on being chased down the aisle in a warehouse supermarket store by a fully automated floor cleaning machine. That just damn thing followed me everywhere I went. So, I guess I'll say never that we won't see those in lumberyards and hardware stores. But I think that the core attribute that we'll likely see within the next 10 years, certainly, and it's emerging, is data insights, being able to understand what your customers want to buy before maybe they even realize what they're shopping for. You know, there's that emerging awareness all of us have. My grandkids have me on Facebook, and when I get on there, you know, I think the damn Alexa thing is listening to me when I'm talking to my wife in the living room about the next project in the backyard. It shows up as an ad on Facebook. So I think data insights, being able to leverage data, understand what your customers are buying, what they're not buying, you know, what the trends are, what their habits are, how to predict your stock levels, all of those things are pretty exciting and emerging within systems like ours and everyday engagement. And then beyond that, you know, things that further save time, reduce the reliance on headcount, cut costs, self-checkouts, mobile point of sale, mobile payment processing, all of those things will become everyday sort of technology for businesses and improve volumes and capabilities within these businesses.
Gotcha. So data can be exciting, is what you're saying.
Well,
get all the insights.
To the extent that it can benefit business, it's exciting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you think about 25, 30 years ago, everybody in this room had mountains of paper reports in their offices and warehouses that weren't looked at and weren't able to be looked at because every day you got another pile of paperwork. Today you can get that on the screen of your phone and make business decisions, and that will only improve over time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, finally, all of you have been in our industry a long while, so I really do think of you guys as leaders in software. Sure, absolutely. But I think also of you guys as leaders in home improvement retailing as well. And so I really want to know what do you think is the most important thing that our industry needs to do to drive further growth? And no, you should not say that you should buy Paladin or Spruce or Eagle. So what do you think, John? I'll continue with you. What do you think?
Well, you know, the obvious things drive growth, consolidation, market share. You know, as a company for ourselves, we look at growth from two areas, and we budget for it. It's, you know, it's organic growth through more sales and maybe widening the vertical focus that we have. And then inorganic growth through acquisition. You know, while certainly not talking about buying each other here, the nature of being able to buy additional technologies that add value to the platforms that we provide and that address the needs of the customers.
Okay. Mike, what do you think's the way that our industry can grow more? What do you think?
Well, the digital revolution is going to happen. We're going to get you through this. It's really not a problem. Don't forget who your customer is. You don't need the digital if you don't have customers. So keep the customer up front. He makes all the decision. He drives the change. You know, he ultimately tells you what he's going to buy, when he's going to buy it, where he's going to get it. And sometimes he gets to participate in the cost or price of it too. So remember who your customer is. Every company is going to be a blend. You know, we have 100% online and 100% brick and mortar. You're going to be 20/70 or 50/50 or whatever works for you and your customers. That's how you have to approach this.
So driving more through digital is what your thought is. Tim, what's your thought? How are we going to grow this industry?
I think by investing in our stores. I think that all the stores, regardless of which POS system they have, you have an asset. And you need to invest in that asset if you're going to continually get a return. And whether that's in other products or solutions or it's in training, I think that a number of our dealers have so much, and there's a lot that they don't use. And I think that there is inherent growth in leveraging some of the technology that you guys already own. And I think that the easiest way to grow is by investing in yourself.
Investing in yourself. I like it. All right, well, we have a few minutes for some questions. So, like I said, be nice. Anybody got a question? I think I saw a hand out there. But, oh, right there.
Grant started today earlier with a poll asking us what were our top priorities for technology this year and what we were investing in. I think something like 80% of the people in the room said e-commerce was their top priority from the choices offered. How did you guys answer that question?
Yeah, I get the question. Is the question if I can restate it? What did they think of that? Is that what your question is?
Yeah, I want to know what you're investing in, and
Yeah.
and sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. So, anyone want to take a stab at it?
I'd be happy to. The pressure of the recent pandemic, it's debatable whether it's over or not, certainly had been a material influencer in the amount of pressure that we saw coming in from customers to have access to our APIs for the purpose of building out their own e-commerce solutions. That was happening before the pandemic started, but it really went into hyperdrive after April of 2020. We'd been looking for a solution and were fortunate enough to find one to buy and bring in-house to be able to work on crafting that very tight integration between an e-commerce solution and our own ERPs. So we're investing there, and our expectation is that somewhere between 5 and 10% of our own customer base may have an interest over the next couple of years, but that will continue to increase. And depending upon technology and digital and all of these things that we've been talking about, more and more people will have to move in that direction. And so we're trying to prepare ourselves to be in the right place at the right time for people's needs. And so we believe in it. And it's evidenced by that poll. Everybody's talking about it. Not everybody wants to spend the money. Not everybody is ready. Not every market needs it today, but eventually we'll all have to be there.
Gotcha. Tim or Mike, did you want to weigh in?
I think e-commerce is the next kind of little frontier, but I also think, to John's point, first of all, it's a project. It's like opening another brick and mortar, and you have to have a plan. And once, technology is a part of it, it's the enabler, but it's making sure you know exactly who your market is and who you're going after is how you're going to be successful. And then the other area, and I can only go by our experience, the biggest roadblock to people bringing up e-commerce sites is the state of their data. And making sure that the descriptions, you and I might understand them, but the public doesn't know what a 2x4x8P is. And we have to make it so that it's consumable by that customer. So I think e-commerce is the next step, but it's also, there's some steps we have to take to make sure that we're ready to go.
Investment in the team, investment in the data has to be kind of a combined effort, I guess. Any other questions? That was a great question. But of course, I'm an e-com guy, so. Any other questions? All right. Well, give these guys a round of applause. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Yep.
Matt.
Yes, thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks. Thanks, Mike.